picking technique has always been a big challenge for me, and honestly, I never thought I'd get to this point. Today, I'll walk you through the things that helped me improve my technique and how you can do the same. I'd say picking in general is a summary of multiple things. It's all about the right hand doing the right type of movement, but also working together with the left hand. And sometimes it can be the left hand that is actually causing the sloppiness when using a picking technique, because it can be the left hand that is actually the slower to move different frets. But when I take a look at the exercises that I started doing, I think this is also a really simple and general technical exercise. I don't personally like it because it's so mechanical and there's no music in it. And one of my key points when practicing is to create music. This is the popular chromatic exercise, and I recommend doing it like at least two different ways. One is doing on a one string like this. So here I just used the down-up movement on my right hand. And that's like one of the key points here, to keep that going on. And then you can also try to adjust the palm here, as you can see from the other camera. You can move it like really close to the bridge to have a little bit more muting here. And experiment where you're most comfortable and you get the sound that you want from the picking. And I've noticed that mine is quite close to the bridge and around the bridge pickups, but also the guitar also affects to the way how I would use my right hand. But finding that, but also like the pick placement here affects to the tone, as you can hear. And also the angle. So you can also start experimenting with that as well, and just use like open E string for that. And that's one way to get the right hand doing the right things here, or the picking hand. But when it comes down to synchronizational part and with one string, you can then experiment with using different finger combinations. My favorite type of doing this is using like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then starting from the middle finger, and then ending with first finger, and then repeat it. And then you can use this pattern to move higher on the neck. But you can also just use the common combinations and variations of it. Like I think it's usually like 1, 2, 1, 4, or 1, 3, 1, 4. Like, and if you use this, or something like that. Then the next phase with this exercise would be to then use the same one and then move always to the next string like this. And then move one fret higher and go down. And the key here is to try to have even pick attacks here. So it's not sounding like something like that. Try to avoid that. Just keep it even. And pay attention to the movement once you move to the next string. And also use the metronome, which can help you then to keep on track with like the tempo that you can use for this exercise. And if you like write down the tempo that you used on a specific day, you can then keep a track of your progress as well. I think that can also like inspire you with your playing as well and track the progress. I like to use the approach here where I switch the finger that starts the pattern. So like here again, like starting with the first finger, then on the second, and then on the third finger, and then fourth, and then here on the starting from the highest string, slowly it would sound like this. And then move one fret higher and repeat that. And then you can practice through the whole fretboard that way. So then you can get to know like how the movement switches once you go higher around the fretboard. So I think this is a really good way to get some foundation with the technique. I would say the next step would be then going towards scale-based playing, where you approach the guitar with like string pairs. You can use it as a string skipping exercise, but you can also use it from like just 3 notes per string type of approach to get a little bit more used to playing different scales as well. So we can take here as an example the A minor scale from the 12th fret on the A string, and then just practice the first 2 strings here. So it's 12, 14, 15, and then same on the next string. And here again, you can also approach it from different picking technique point of views. You can use it like just a classic alternative picking where you just use down, up, repeat type of movement. But then, as you can hear, I wasn't playing particularly clean. So pay attention the amount of noise you can get once having a little bit more gain. So here I would pay more attention to have like even hits, but also avoid having the noise once moving to the next string. And the next step of using this like quite linear movement, you can try different combinations with fingers. And then you can try different combinations here. Then you can experiment with different scale options here with these like 6 first notes, like A major, for example. And then doing the same. Then you can use like the pedal note here as I did here. And then experiment with palm muting to have like dynamics with the playing as well. And that will also help you to understand a little bit better where the problems can occur. I think the biggest challenge for me is to move to another string where I may add a little bit more noise, and that's where I usually try to avoid getting the noise. So that's like my personal struggles here with this technique. And you can use this as a string skipping exercise and follow the scale here like this. Like you could move 12, 14, 15 on the A string, then on the G string 12, 14, 16, and then start from A string again, and then go like 12, 13, 15 on the B string, and then repeat same again at the end on the E string. And here, if you do it this way, you can actually practice the scale and different combinations with fingers. And here you can start from moving the starting note to a different string. So let's say we go to the D string and then follow the A minor scale again. And then do the same. And then try different variations on the next string as well. And then move to the next string pair. And then the last one would be like if we stay in the position. And again, try to keep right hand as loosened as possible once doing this exercise. If you want to then take this exercise even further, just move higher with this string pair on the fretboard. Like something like if you move from 12th position, then move to the next fret that can start the pattern. So then here, if I start from 12th, then to the 13th, then I think, yeah, 15, then to the 17, and then to the 16, and so on. And you can do this in different keys as well. So that's like the string pair approach that I would recommend trying with different keys and scales. So then the next phase would be taking a vocal melody and then using alternate picking for approaching that, or picking in general, and paying attention to the dynamics. Because like, yes, you can play that same melody, that Twinkle, Twinkle Little Star, by just using the alternate picking, but not really paying attention to the phrasing, like this. And I think that's acceptable way of playing, but I think it's quite boring. So if you want to have like a little bit different types of approaches, I would like to have like one of the ways to add a little bit more attitude is like raking. To me, it feels like most of the muting comes from the palm of the hand that mutes the strings before the note. So let's say I take the higher octave here to use that technique. So if I hit the C here on the 13th fret on the B string, on the left hand I don't really fret any strings except the C, as you can hear here. And then you basically just release the muting on the right hand to hit the C. So it's like this. Slowly again, the same thing. So I slightly lift my right hand once I'm about to hit the C here on the B string. So that helps me to add a little bit more attitude to that C note or the notes in general. So I think if I take like the same melody here on the higher register on the guitar and then add like different techniques here to add more like spice to phrasing and maybe like bends. So that's like a really simple way to add more attitude. Then you can start experimenting like melodies from that point of view, and that helps you to also like improve your phrasing to make it sound like more like you playing a melody, music. And I think that's really easy way to practice songs as well. But you can also approach the melodies from playing like this really simple, like just alternate picking focused way. And have the slides here and there. That's one of the ways how I started practicing guitar. I was learning like jazz standards and mainly used like alternate picking as a way to use phrasing. I think one of my favorite jazz standards, Blue Bossa, was something that I started to figure out different ways to phrase it. Like for example, yeah, I think that's how the song goes. But as you can see, I used a little bit different techniques to phrase it. Like I used slides, a little bit octaves. So it's not automatically like one technique to use to phrase a vocal melody or a main melody of the song. So that's one way to practice this technique as well. So I really recommend checking out songs that has vocal melodies and practice those vocal lines and figure out how to phrase them. So the fourth way of practicing would be like loopable riffs. And the key here is to have something that you can repeat over and over again, but it can sound really cool at the same time. And the way how I would approach this is to have a lick or riff that is somehow challenging me. And here, this thing that I just played was like, I think E blues scale. And I was playing like 12th on the G string, 14, 15, then the B string to 12th, and then 15 on the G string, 14 and 12. And here I'm especially like paying attention to the movement to the B string and getting back to G string. So here my picking hand would go automatically to hitting like with a down pick the B string and then hit with the upstroke the G string. That's okay, but I think you can also try to experiment that, like what comes naturally once you're doing the picking exercise like this, because I don't think there's really like one and only right way to play this. So I would recommend using a lick like this. Then you can modify it, like playing two notes on the B string. That's actually 3 notes, but and then you can also go to a D string here. And I noticed that I wasn't even in time here, but you get the point here. So here I'm able to practice the E minor scale or E blues scale, and then a little bit of the movement towards moving to another guitar string, which is again one where things can start going wrong. And I think that's one why this is a really good way of practicing to alternate picking as well, because then you can have like the sense of rhythm and hand synchronization and build up some stamina for being able to play these longer notes, but also get the confidence to play a really impressive licks like this. Because then if you just keep looping that, I think it can be a really impressive in like solo situations. But again, like you can take it to the minor scale as well and use it there. But yeah, that's one way that I would recommend practicing alternate picking. You can also come up with your own ideas and riffs. Then you can also take this even further and be more musical with this by just picking up a scale and trying to figure out or write a riff that uses this approach and see how it works as a like repeated line. Then the last but definitely not the least is improvisation, focusing on alternate picking. That will create a creative approach to using this technique and makes it become like conscious part of your playing, where you can move it from having a technical exercises, but then apply it in the most practical way. And I think that also helps to move from like the practice mood to actually like creating music with the things that you know. With this approach, I would recommend picking up a backing track from YouTube or wherever you have the backing tracks. You can check out some from my Patreon page, but pick up the backing track and then you can write a riff or find a riff that is like really heavily alternative picking focused. Take it to the key where the backing track is and then use that riff and try to make music with that. You can just create with that or write a riff of your own that uses the alternate picking and then see how you can evolve with that. Can you develop that riff even further with that backing track? But besides that, just try to create music with the backing track and play with alternate picking or have the focus there. But you can also use other techniques. And yeah, here's how I would do this exercise. I hope you found this exercise really useful. I'm also offering guitar lessons, one-on-one lessons. Check out my website for more info about that, or check out my Patreon page. There's some educational material out there as well. Other than that, I hope you found this video useful, got some tips on how to improve your picking technique. You can also like try to learn some classical songs to improve even further the technique. I learned that Bach violin partita in order to get better with picking. That helped some, but yeah, that would be probably like video of its own, how that improved my guitar playing. But also like just practicing was the way to get better. So that's all for now. Thanks a lot for watching, and keep having fun with this instrument and practicing, and hopefully see you in the next one.